As you can see, there are six study points that we're going to be going into today. Um, so first, learning objectives. Hello. So the performance learning objectives. I'm sorry, but I did a lot of classes when I was in the military and cadets, so I'm going to be doing it like this. So the purpose of this class is to familiarize the student, like you nerds, with the concept of rejection, the rejection of the call trope and how it can and does interact with your path as a Jedi. So we talk a lot about the hero's path and all that. Of course, we all talk about like the beginning, the call to adventure and all that, and then of course the denouement and the ending. But I find I think it's also called the refusal of the call. That point is often overlooked, I think, specifically within the Jedi community. So I decided, let's touch on it just for funsies, because the theme was thresholds. So I think the refusal of the call, rejecting the rejection, is important to the path, and we'll go into why. By the end of the presentation, is my hope that the students, you guys, will become more mindful of how the rejection of the call is an integral part of their path as a threshold to what lays beyond. So, intro to myself. Who's this nerd? Hi, I'm Arasag Winterthorn. I also go by Everett Ratcliffe. I'm a knight and counselor at the Jedi Conclave as head of public relations. I currently serve as the Conclave, Order of Kyber, Jedi Church, Legacy of the Sacred Saber, etc. I've been a boot the blook, as a Canadian would say. So I've been around. Most people here might know me. If you don't, hello. I'm just a friendly little nerd. So into theorem. I chose that word because it sounded fancy, but it's not all that fancy. The rejection theorem. What is the refusal of the call? So what is the refusal call? This is the moment the hero can reject the call to adventure and safely, for the most part, and I will go into that, return to what was. They can just be like, okay, no, you want me to go and return the One Ring to Mordor, or I can stay in my hobbit hole. Nah, I'm gonna stay here. That's the rejection of the call. For one example, it is the moment of conscious choice to continue forward with the treacherous path ahead. It's the moment, basically, like, because anyone can accept the call, but when it becomes to the point where they realize, oh, this path is going to be hard, oh, this path is going to be dangerous, but they continue anyways, that is when they've rejected the rejection. They've decided, they've heard the call to refuse and have said, no, I'm gonna keep going for now. So why is this important to Jedi? Now this goes a little bit into my own personal point of view of what a Jedi is. Jedi is about active choice to be such. At any point, any one of us can just decide, no, I'm not going to do this Jedi thing anymore. Leave all the groups. You still have your friends that are Jedi, but you just decide, yeah, I'm done. Especially early on. Many people will come to the path, you'll hear them swear their undying loyalties to the Jedi Order, and then that's the last you hear of them. When they realize, oh, there's training, there's hard work. This ain't easy. This isn't an overnight thing. Since we have all chosen, like everyone here, for the most part, has actively chosen to go on this path and continue to stick to it. We've passed through this threshold, the refusal of the call, at least once. You will go through this, as was said earlier by Carlos. The hero's journey is circular. You're going to go through this many, many times. So we're going to go into personal example. That's me. Years and years ago, once upon a time, back when I still had a mustache. When I first came to the path, I was just interested. I saw a comment on an article, so I decided, okay, I'm just gonna check it out. Once I realized there was training, there was the first refusal to call. I did decide to pursue the training. Cool. Which was the Temple of the Jedi Order's Initiate's path. When I got near the conclusion of that study, I started being approached by training masters. I went very in depth in my IP, and I had just a bunch of people asking me to train under them. And so I had options. I could have just said, nah, I think I got all that I needed out of it and left. I instead found a training master and continued on with an apprenticeship. Did that for a year and a half. And then by the end of that, I was like, okay, well, you can become a knight now. And I'm like, at that point, I could have also still walked away. I've gone through so many of these refusals of the call to just give up, just be like, okay, I'm done. I've got what I needed. I'm just gonna return to what was. Many of us have come to those moments where you stop and you realize, like, God, this Jedi pass is a lot of work. Sometimes it's a lot of stress. Like this event, for example, this very event that you're listening to now, that you're sitting here with, or you're listening to sometime in the future. This was a lot of work that all put together by many, like a bunch of the people here, some of the people that aren't even here. A lot of work. And many of those people could have not put in that work. They could have been, nah, you know what? I'm just not going to help with this. Or they could have given up, like they could have offered to help and then be like, man, never mind. The refusal to call happens all the time, but at the same time, it happens scarcely. And I will continue to go into that. So, I love Frizzy. It's just so smooth and beautiful. So, open mic night. So, I am going to ask upon you guys to reflect upon your own paths. Many of you have been like just looking at the people that are here. Hello, beautiful people. You've all been here for at least a couple years, from what I can tell. So we're going to look into your own paths and be like, could you identify a moment that you could have just said no? And the more important part is, how has it affected your past? Previously, I went into how, for the most part, they returned to their previous life basically unscathed, but we know that it's our choices that define what's going to happen in the future. Yeah, Frodo and Sam could have said, I'm going to head back to the Shire. And they could have, but then they would have, been orc slaves until somebody came along to save them. For example. So into the discussion. So please, if you decide you want to share, you don't have to share. If you don't want to, you can share as much as you wish. Just please raise your hand. I believe there's a little emoji thing that you can use to raise your hand in the chat thing. Otherwise, you can just physically raise your hand. I am watching. I am watching all of you. Hello, everybody. I am watching you all. If you decide you want to share something, just raise your hand and you can unmute. I'll call upon you. You can unmute yourself and we can. Yes, there we go. See, somebody got it. Yes, Ali, go ahead. Please share. Everyone, please listen, and we will discuss this.
So I actually hated Star Wars. Like, I'm okay with it now. I'm okay with it. I don't hate it, but I did hate Star Wars. And before I got into the community, just over 20 years ago, not fully over 20 years, 21 will be this year in April. I could have easily said no. And my friend convinced me to sign up for Force Academy. And she's like, just trust me. And I could have said no. I could have done everything I could to say, Melissa, nope, that's not happening. But I accepted, despite all things that was like, this is really weird and you shouldn't try to do it. I accepted. So that was probably my big almost rejection right there. It was 20 years ago on April 14th, 2020 or 2002.
And can you imagine the community without you, without you at this point? I doubt we'd have the Jedi compass right now. Like you didn't write it, but you helped get it going. If you decided to not sign up for FA, there'd be a lot of documents that wouldn't exist. I don't imagine many gatherings would have happened.
Oh no, see, actually I was not integral to the gatherings. That was Amy, Moonshadow. Moonshadow was the one that got all that formed and going. And so I do believe that one would have, and actually she started those in 2003, okay. Just only, I didn't know her until long later. So I will say that the gathering thing is not mine. I'm going to make sure that the right person gets credit for that. As for the community without me, sure, I think that maybe that you're right, the Jedi compass wouldn't exist. I don't know if somebody would have stepped up to create something like that. We might still be arguing over, well, no, I don't know. I really don't know what would be or would not be. The only one that I'm pretty confident you're right about the compass. But the rest of it, I think that the community um would probably be in its own way. I don't know how much I could realistically say I fashioned around it.
Mm.
I don't know who would be here and who wouldn't be here based on my interaction. Um, because I have a lot of trust in other people to pick up some of the things that I didn't. So, if anything, I would rather other people make those speculations than me. I'm not good at making speculations like that because then that tells me what I've done to impact them personally.
Exactly. Other people's reviews are what you trust when you buy from the store, not the store's reviews.
Exactly.
Exactly. You're finished then, yeah?
I am complete.
You are complete. Wonderful. I believe Karina raised her hand next. Hello, Karina.
Hello. I also raised my hand to say that it was due to Ali that I really stayed in the community. Because I did leave. I entered the community, saw the chaos that was in here, very skeptical about what I was seeing, because it was like a free-for-all. There was a lot of arguing. And as somebody who came from religious trauma, it was very scary to then step into a forums where all of this was happening. And then I found the path, and then I started seeing people who were knights, or were supposed to be examples of what a Jedi is, behaving in ways that I did not like or even find respectful in any way, and left the community. And it took a long time for me to want to come back to the community. One of the first steps that I took was going to one of the Jedi gatherings, because I wanted to see what would happen. And when I came back, Ali was one of the few people that I stayed in contact with. And as I was saying earlier, Ali greeted me like I was family the whole time. And I've been here ever since. But there was definitely that refusal of the call to come to the path, and initially just based on a lot of my own inner turmoil of what it meant to be a Jedi, and how much of a role that was going to play in my life, either religious or a philosophy, and how I was going to try to approach it and apply it.
Exactly. I mean, you did decide to go into the refusal of the call. You did be like, yeah, nah, never mind, Jedi's not for me. But I will actually be touching on an example that's actually quite familiar to that then, in the next section, to like refuse it and then be like, maybe I should just like go. I'm just gonna chase after him. I'm gonna be like, let's see what's going on. If anything, I can always turn around and head back home. But yeah, thank you for sharing. Excellent. And I believe Russ is next. Hello, Russ.
Hey, so my my moment was when I found out about Chicago Jedi because I was giving up my life in New York. I had been a New Yorker for many, many, many years, all of my life until 2007, where my now Robbie's mother got a job opportunity out here in Illinois. And so it required that I had to close down my martial arts school in New York. I had to close down my computer business in New York, and that really hurt. I mean, you basically took everything that I'd taken time to build up over years and say, well, now my spouse had an opportunity to get, make a good income. change her career path. So you make a sacrifice for somebody. So I gave up everything. And over the course of a year, I closed my school and let all my students know that they need to find somewhere else to train, which was very painful. And then I had to also do the same thing with my computer business, let all my clients know I was going to be moving out of state, only to come here to Illinois and have nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not a car for me, not a job, and I had to focus all my energy on closing down all that other stuff and settling all that other business to come here and have nothing. So one of the things that my spouse at the time said to me was, oh, and oh yeah, and by the way, all of my friends and connections to business and everything were in New York. So all my martial arts associates, all New York. So I left there to come here to have nothing. And my big solace was that she said, well, there on Meetup, there is this, Jedi group. You'd find that interesting. I'm like, gee, that's great. So at that point, I was kind of, the word's not resentful. I was feeling, I guess, a little bitter. I was feeling a little like, wow, I just gave up everything. You've got a career and I've got to figure this out. And especially when her thing was, hey, what you could do is you can go to McDonald's and, check that out. And, oh, so basically my attitude was, right. I was a computer specialist, technology expert for lawyers, doctors, and CPAs. And I had my martial arts school where I had hundreds of students. And now my big resolve was, would you like fries with that? So I wasn't really feeling too happy about that whole situation. And I very, very much wasn't feeling like being too social at the time, believe it or not. And, she kept pushing me saying, yo, you should really check out that Jedi group. This way you could start building your friend base again. And, because I didn't know anybody out here in Illinois. So that's when I finally I did reach out to Gabe, Master Angeles, and made plans to go see him. And I literally had to have my wife at the time had the only car we had. And so I felt like a little kid, she'd drive me out I met him in this park out here in Illinois, and I'd go spend time with Gabe, and Gabe and I would be, I'd teach him some martial arts. He'd teach me about the Force. He taught me Reiki. So he trained me to be a Reiki practitioner. And that's where that whole thing launched. As a matter of fact, when Gabe told his whole origin story of Chicago Jedi, that moment he talks about where he met up with me and with Jeremy, well, that's when he met me right there. Now, I meet Gabe, and here's a guy who shows up, he's dressed as a Jedi, coming to a park to meet him. I very easily could have just said, this is just too weird, man. Mm-hmm. Or this is the only person I know here, really. Or I could just said, oh, I need to focus on getting a job. I can't spend time doing this. There was any number of reasons, but Gabe became my best friend here in Illinois. We spent a lot of time together, and that relationship blossomed into what is now Chicago Jedi and what we've done with the IJF and all the other things that that I've done here. So that's my story.
Thank you for sharing. We have one more person left to go. No? Yeah? So wait for one.
Me or the other? Sorry.
There's nobody else.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the reasons why I'm still here is because of Ross. Ross was always encouraging to me, even when I did things that I'm not exactly proud of, but I've had so many opportunities for me, where I could have like stopped giving up on my personal path or like continued to do a lot of work to do and be better. Like when I first came into the community, I was like, Star Wars nerds, that's cool, but this is not for me. That's what I first thought, because I come from a like martial arts esoteric background, and then I experienced a lot of things that were a little hard. And that's another moment where instead of like not giving up and even feeling like bitter, angry, resentful, even vengeful, and like just super dark, I chose to be like, okay, how can I use the training and the philosophy to learn how to control this, to learn how to feel this way and yet still be present and continue even though I failed. And like there's so many times where I've faced that gateway too, or whatever you said, where I just could have been like, well, I've failed so many different times that nobody's like, I don't have a place here, etc. And like I could have not gone to the gathering, and then if I didn't go to the gathering, then I wouldn't have met Jonathan, who's my partner. And sometimes when I even like want to leave TFD because I have like self-doubt or they're like inner obstacles where I'm like, I don't want to always lead, you know, I just want to be a hermit and be alone. And that's another time where I could have stopped, but then I always come back because people want me, surprisingly. People want what I have to offer. Who would have known that I would have been teaching one of the members that is like me in ways, and was on my band list, and that could have been another opportunity where it's like, yeah, no, but like it's all helped me become a better Jedi consular and a better individual and student of this philosophy, and be able to like have mercy and compassion to take responsibility for yourself when you lose balance, and just keep like doing what you can to be better and stuff, you know. So it's people like Ross and Allie too, who's been encouraging to me, and like people from the shadows who have helped me get good feedback, you know, get good observations so that I can do and be better, right? Yeah, just don't ever give up.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Sorry, Roz is back. Yeah, excellent. Boom, boom. Excellent. Whoop. Not that. What are you doing? Sorry. Go back. There we go. Okie dokie. Second to last section, examples in pop culture. Now, of course, our examples are a little bit more nuanced because we're not characters in a book that have to have structure. We end up, we do draw our own lines where we figure out where these refusal of the path fall into our life, but typically they're only seen in retrospect. So, but in a book or a movie or a comic or whatever, there has to be a clear defined moment, because that's how books work. I think the only book that I know of that doesn't follow this is probably one of the world's oldest book, which is Journey to the West, where the entire first book of the series is dedicated to a side character. It's great. It's hilarious. So we're going to go into a couple examples. Example number one, Bilbo Baggins, the lovely, lovely Bilbo Baggins. He quite literally, he's one of our oldest examples that I personally can name, considering his book was written back in like the 1950s. I should have written that down somewhere. He actively dismissed the call to adventure when it came literally knocking on his door. He said, I don't want any part of this. I'm not a burglar. I'm just a hobbit. I just want to do my own thing. Please leave me alone. And they all left without him. And it was like an itch to him. Eventually, he just like, I literally chose this photo here for that reason. He grabbed his thing, I'm off on an adventure, and he just runs off after them because he realized that's what he wants to do. He left the Shire, which leaving the Shire for him was actively choosing to cross that thresholds and refuse the refusal of the call, to reject the rejection. Then number two, we got Willow Ufgood. I had to choose him because, of course, recent media, he's been brought back. But if you go back into like the original movie, Willow, when he met Elora Danan, he quite literally told his kid, nah, shove it back in the river, let it float downstream. Another giant will find it and I'll take it home. And then they're like, oh no, that's not responsible. So he's okay, whatever. Picks up the kid, brings it to town hall. Town hall's like, okay, no, we need to bring it back to his own kind. He didn't really want to do it, but he did it. And then he goes and sits on the side of a road, hoping to give it to anyone who passes. But nobody wants to take the kid. Eventually, he gives the kid to a straight up thief that he frees himself from prison. And then later finds out that the kid has been stolen by, I believe, a fairy or something. And he realized, okay, no, never mind. Nobody's good enough to do this. I'm going to actively do this. And now is him finally rejecting the rejection, moving forward, and deciding that the risk that he was going to be undertaking was important enough for the sake of this child. Boom. Example number 3. We got Daniel LaRusso, the classic Karate Kid. He started his journey to escape external pain and suffering, but later learned it was also to deconstruct internal factors as well. His journey didn't start until he actively chose to learn. This one I found was a little bit more nuanced. I think the story itself is a bit more nuanced, where the refusal of the call came in. I found it personally came in a little bit later in the story, not when he's decided to start training, because anyone can start martial arts. He almost gives up when it came to the wax on, wax off, sand the deck, paint the boards, all that. He could have given up then. I believe the refusal of the call, like the proper rejection of the rejection, was when we see him drinking with Mr. Miyagi, and Mr. Miyagi passes out, and Daniel learns this like backstory. Oh, he was an American soldier, but his wife was held in a internment camp, and then she died, and all this horrible stuff, and that he was still a war hero. For me, it was that moment when he bows to Mr. Miyagi while he's asleep, like drunk asleep. It's that there's so much more I could be learning, and it's going to be a lot of pain and suffering, but he's done it, and he's a deeply flawed being like myself. Because before that, he viewed Mr. Miyagi as something almost a little bit more infallible, like a bit of a weirdo, but a bit more infallible than he was. When he realized, oh, Mr. Miyagi is suffering as just as much as I am, perhaps even more, he realized that Mr. Miyagi continued forward and was training him because he didn't want Daniel to suffer the way that he had suffered. So that moment of him bowing to his sleeping master for me was a TV show Kung Fu. Yeah, Cobra Kai was amazing. What are you talking about? Cobra Kai was amazing, but that's another story. I'm talking about the original Karate Kid, because Karate Kid was awesome. And then the final example. It wouldn't be a Star Wars lesson, a Jedi lesson, unless we talk about Star Wars, the classic hero's adventure, Luke Skywalker. Luke could have given up everything, stopped following Obi-Wan, and gone and joined the Empire. A lot of people forget his original goal was to join the Empire. He wanted to be an Imperial pilot. So he could have just ran off and been like, whatever, Kenobi, you're the one who Leia want. Like, I've delivered a message from Leia to you. Go do your own thing. I'm done. Goes back to find Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen deep fried barbecued. And he could have been like, well, nobody's holding him back. I'm going to go join the Empire now. He could have at any point, but he didn't. For some reason, he decided to continue as Kenobi to go to Alderaan. And then Alderaan is, been replaced by this mysterious asteroid field that wasn't there before. They get captured. They go into the Death Star. He was told specifically to stay in one area, which was like the control room. But then when he discovers the princess is there, he decides, oh, I got to go run off and save the princess. Now, that's pretty classic hero stuff, but I don't believe it was a heroic act. Like, that was the refusal of the call for him, the rejection of the rejection. He decided, instead of staying here, I don't have to go save this princess. Our goal is just to wait for Obi-Wan to go turn off the tractor beam. But instead, he decided, I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to go save that princess. It's going to be great danger because I'm on an Imperial base surrounded by people that want to shoot me. and stop her from getting out, but I'm going to do it. And that for me was his refusal of the rejection, and decided I'm going to go off and I'm going to save the princess. And that was him starting his journey to become a Jedi, because he realized there's something more to this. So that's the end of my examples. And we'll go on to the conclusion. So we're just going to reiterate a couple things. To summarize, active rejecting of the rejection, refusing the refusal of the call, is what defines a story's protagonist from the rest of the cast. For Jedi realists, we actively choose to be such. And there came a point to which we said, this is what I need to do. Not something that I want to do. Like, Jedi is something that anybody could want to do. But to continue, when it gets hard, to decide to continue training each day, to get up and be Jedi, that's something that you need to do. I wrote the example here of one does not accidentally draw the sword from the stone. You have to sort of go up and grab the handle. We'll finish this off with a quote I got from, of all places, Deadpool, from the character Colossus. This is a beautiful and classic scene, ends very silly, but whatever. The quote going, 4 or 5 moments, that's all it takes. To be a hero, everyone thinks it's a full-time job. You wake up a hero, brush your teeth a hero, go to work a hero. Not true. Over a lifetime, there are only 4 or 5 moments that really matter. Moments where you're offered a choice to make a sacrifice, conquer a flaw, save a friend, spare an enemy. In these moments, everything else falls away. That is the refusal of the call, where you can decide to not do something or to do something. In this moment, Deadpool decides to just execute his enemy because he's a silly character and doesn't care about plot or character arcs. So, but Colossus makes an excellent point. We're all Jedi here. Well, we all decide we're going to be Jedi, but not every moment is one where you're called on to be Jedi. Yeah, you use your Jedi lessons to get through each day, but sometimes there's an active moment where you could be like, yeah, you know what, screw this. Let's put the Jedi thing for a moment to the side for a moment. This person's making me angry. I'm going to not be a Jedi for a minute, or perhaps continuing because it's hard. There's only a handful of moments in your life where the being Jedi it's a hard thing, and you have to actively choose to continue with that. With my work, I'm dealing with that all the time, where people have decided to just go off me, and I have to be like, okay, I have to decide this is the right thing to do. I need to continue being Jedi. So that has been my class, rejecting the rejection, not rejection, the rejection. I hope you all enjoyed. Is there any questions? No? Any questions? Everybody waking up? I know, I'm boring.
I was just gonna say, like, those moments where it's difficult and the answer sometimes is not readily available, like, and the choices are not easy. Those are the moments I like to call Kobayashi Maru. Those are like no-win scenarios sometimes that you have to make a decision with your spirit, for me,
Exactly. It's something that sings to your soul. Even though it's hard, you feel this, like, it's like, the world doesn't deserve less than this. Excellent.
I do have a question. Is this going to be available somewhere for us to see on our own time?
Yes, this has been recorded. It will be online. I believe it's the Jedi Lighthouse YouTube. I might be mistaken there, but it will be available somewhere.
Yeah, it'll be on the Jedi's Lighthouse.
Also,
It
you
might
can
take
find
me
it
a
on.
week to finally get all of this up, but I will get it up.
Also, you can find it on IJF's Greatest Hits. You can buy it for $19.95.
If you sign up to my Patreon, you get 5 minutes of unseen footage.
Nope. In order to get the unseen footage, you have to be here present. That is
Yes.
how we entice people to attend these events.
There's a secret 7th slide that you watching now on YouTube did not see.
See the behind
Excellent.
the scenes. See the behind the scenes.
Behind the
You know.
scenes. Behind the
Okay.
scenes, I got some rocks. But- Excellent. Well, thank
Yes.
you all for attending. This has been fun to throw together.
Yeah, I
Um,
think this is actually a very, very good topic because I do think it's a very core part of the journey, especially when it's such a common thing to see people enter and return into the community. But you do learn a lot from saying no. You learn, because what I also found too is that based on, to me, the force will continue to bring subject matter that continues to, I guess, trigger some of the similar things until really you learn the lesson that you need to learn to start repeating certain patterns. So this cycle is something that resonates a lot, but recognizing that even though rejection can feel like failure or stepping away, a lot of the time you need some of that to come to center, to come to know yourself again before you then step back outwards. Because sometimes even that internal rejection, well, what is it that I'm afraid of? What is it that I'm trying to escape or not face? So yeah, those are all wonderful topics to discuss. So thank you so much.
Excellent. Excellent. How do I stop the recording here? Just so we can, or is that something you do? Oh, sorry, Dark Dan wanted to ask a question. Hello, Dark Dan.
Hello. Thank you for this talk. It really made me consider things. And the interesting question I've been asking myself is, like, throughout this whole thing, have I really rejected the rejection? Like, I am currently not associated with any community in particular, despite starting out in one. And I have been, like, for several years comfortably alone in my path, in my teachings. But honestly, me being here right now is a bit of a rejection of a rejection. So.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's a good point. Like, it's like, even if people don't actively go into the path all the time, and they're not like people like me, where I'm like everywhere and I'm always got my hands everywhere and I'm helping everybody. Like, you don't have to be like that in order to be Jedi.
I just want to say that it's really cool that I'm not the only person that can say that. You don't have to be like me, where I'm everywhere.
Yeah,
There's
you don't
somebody
have
else
to.
that can be. There's somebody else that's everywhere that can say you don't have to be like me. I'm everywhere. I'm not the only person everywhere anymore.
Same.
There's so many people around, but you don't have to be like, you don't have to look at an example of a person and be like, well, I have to be like that. The Force community is all about your own destiny. You just have to be like, I find the most prominent version of the refusal of the call in personal life is I'm going to speak from a Jedi perspective here. I work in hotels and all that, and sometimes I get cussed out. I get threatened. I've been threatened to be stabbed in the throat by people that actively probably would have done it. I could have jumped over the desk and pummeled them into the ground, and probably would have been within my rights, because they did actively threaten me, and I did have camera footage of it. I didn't, because I felt that pull, that call to do something different. And instead I refused that call and said, no, that's not what a Jedi would do. I need to do this instead. It's something that I need to do, which was tell them, yeah, you know what? You're not a guest here. You're threatening me. You're going to leave before I call the police. Yeah, stuff like that. So like, sometimes it's just refusing a lesser version of yourself, a version to emerge.
That's such a good point. I love that.
Excellent. Perfect. I think we're all done here. Of course, you don't have to leave the call if you don't want to, but I believe we'll stop the recording or whatever we're doing, and you can all chill, but I need to go.